125 years. That's an impressive milestone, and the May Court Club of Ottawa is celebrating in a big way. We have been fulfilling the legacy of our founder, Lady Ishbel Aberdeen, who, as the wife of the Governor-General, felt it was her role to find ways to improve the lives of women and children in our city, and indeed the country. Within months of her arrival in Canada, she was instrumental in the founding of the National Council of Women of Canada and the Victorian Order of Nurses. Then she turned her sights on finding ways for young women to serve those less fortunate.
On the eve of May Day, 1898, I invited to the grounds of Rideau Hall 100 young women, daughters of the leading families of Ottawa. A frivolous event designed to amuse Ottawa society? Yes and no. I had more serious aims. I wished, if possible, to start some plan which would make the girls of Ottawa realize their special responsibilities. Though some may not approve, I know I've been called by one Canadian journalist the most aggressive busybody. I feel it is my mission to promote reform in the society in which we live.
We celebrate our 125 years of history. The early rules of our club stipulated members were to be unmarried because married women had a duty to care for their husbands and children. Our membership evolved over the years from these young debutantes to women from all walks of life and ages. The organization went from a May Queen whose court circled a maypole to a president with a board of directors. We eventually incorporated and were granted charitable status. The good things we did here soon spread across the country. Other organizations initially became affiliated with the May Court before establishing themselves as the Association of May Court Clubs of Canada. We celebrate our 125 years of service. Our motto of enriching the lives of others as well as our own has led our club to find ways to fill gaps in the social services available to women, children, and the disabled when there were no safety nets available. We were often the first to help. Then, when the government determined it was a necessary service with good outcomes, they took over, and we turned our efforts to filling some other need. The May Court Club of Ottawa operated the first tuberculosis clinic in Canada at a time when people, especially the poor, needed healthy food and medical treatment to overcome the ravages of TB. Our volunteers served in the clinic and they raised the funds to buy the food and equipment necessary for diagnoses and prevention. The club ran the TB dispensary and clinic for almost 60 years, from 1908 to 1966, when the City of Ottawa assumed its administration. During the war years, the women of the club supported the efforts of the Red Cross by knitting, sewing, and supporting families whose husbands were serving overseas. In 1914, we provided jobs to women by opening a work depot and employment bureau. During the Second World War, some members learned how to repair car motors so they could qualify as overseas ambulance drivers. Maybe it was this kind of dirty work that led to the May Court pink smock that was worn by our volunteers for many years, only recently replaced by a snazzy black apron with a pink door decal. In the meantime, the club had turned its attention to the needs of children. Well baby clinics, supplying equipment for children's hospital wards, opening the Ottawa Day Nursery, supporting the Rotary Club, holding Christmas parties complete with huge trees and visits from Santa, and fabulous marionette shows with handcrafted puppets, sets, and scripts. For many years, May Court members visited local classrooms to help with early literacy programs. The work to fill these societal needs was unending, but could be fun too. One of the club's longest-serving members is José Hamilton.
I joined the club in 1958, having been asked to join the club by two quite prominent members at the time, so I was very pleased, and I thought I would never get accepted. Came for an interview, actually in the same room we're sitting in today, and I was shaking in my boots, but I did get the okay. So I've been a member for 66 years now. We helped at the Red Cross house, which was on Metcalfe Street in Ottawa, and at the time we were making Band-Aids and different things to help them out. So I did that for at least a year or more until once they moved to their new location, they didn't need us anymore. So that ended our association with them. I worked at the convalescent home during the daytime, and we would bring lunches to people in their rooms. And if you worked in the afternoon, you would bring them afternoon tea with a trolley. And then if you worked in the evening, you would also bring them refreshments to their rooms in the evening.
The club operated the convalescent home from 1916 through to 1997, more than 80 years, offering care to women who needed help to recuperate from illness or surgery. At various times, the convalescent home's goals were altered to address pressing needs in the city. During the 1918 flu epidemic, it was converted to a flu hospital. During the Second World War, British women and children evacuees found shelter there. And when the children's ward experienced a fire, they found refuge at the home. In 1997, changes to the regulations for long-term care homes made it impossible to continue, so the doors of the convalescent home were closed. But not for long. In 1999, the ribbon was cut for the Maycourt Hospice. The club provides the site rent-free, conducts all major repairs, and supplies an annual donation toward operations. This has meant almost $5 million in financial support. We have also many club members volunteering in a variety of positions. In 2018, the club was recognized as Sustaining Benefactor. The Maycourt Library at the Civic Hospital operated for 95 years, from 1925 until the recent COVID pandemic shuttered its doors. It is unknown if the library will reopen in the hospital's new site. The library provided not only a reading room, but a friendly face at the door when Maycourt volunteers entered with their carts laden with reading materials. One woman particularly associated with the early years of the library is Phyllis Reichart, who served as its convener for 27 years. She wanted to bring quality reading materials to patients and even taught one young man recuperating from polio how to read.
My idea of utopia would be, among other things, a place where comics had never been heard of. Many is the disappointment that we have while making our rounds, for so often a perfectly intelligent-looking adult will hesitate and ponder over the question, "What book or magazine would you like to read?" All too common comes the reply, "Oh, just give me a few comics, please."
Nutrition programs for children have always figured in the services offered by the club. The Emergency Food Box program provided healthy snacks for children who arrived at school without having had breakfast or with no lunchbox. Later, the club turned its attention to providing funds for after-school snacks at several community houses. All these activities needed money, and the women of the Maycourt became excellent fundraisers. One of the very first efforts was a craft sale, where the proceeds of $8.72 was proudly deposited to our account. The Maycourt lunch and tea room was popular with afternoon tea, which included a cup of tea, a sandwich, and a cake for the princely sum of 50 cents. Generous donors helped, and appeals were made to the public over the years, which made a big difference. The most successful activities, however, involved the dedication of committees of women working hard. The events that are most associated with the club are our fantastic balls, which often included a floor show. One year, the club went to Chateau Montebello for a complete Arthurian-themed weekend. The Centennial Ball in 1998 resulted in the Centennial Scholarships for studies at the master's level for nurse practitioners. The Heartbeat Ball provided equipment for the Ottawa Heart Institute. The balls were wonderful events and great opportunities for members to make lifelong friendships. In 1992, countless hours went into the club's largest single fundraising event, with the May Court Designer Showcase, a first of its kind in Ottawa. It featured the city's foremost interior designers and landscape architects who showcased their talents at the Chelsea Club on Metcalfe Street. People lined up to see the work of 36 teams. Along with associated events, the final total raised was $140,000. Another memorable and visibly attractive fundraiser was Fantasy Trees and Treasures, situated on the bridge between the Bay and the Rideau Centre. For many years, shoppers purchased raffle tickets for the creative efforts of members who had decorated Christmas trees or other decor. If they were successful, it was delivered, fully decorated, to their homes, often by accommodating May Court husbands.
Life is very different than it was when I joined 46 years ago, but there is still a need for the May Court Club of Ottawa, and there is still women out there that are anxious to help and to enjoy the camaraderie and to share their giving and their talents with the community of Ottawa.
Margie and I took a map and had it laminated and decided that we would show all the places where the club has had an impact. So we have green pins to show where we had an impact, and we have pink pins to show where we did some fundraising. And the idea is to show what scope the club has had on the city of Ottawa. And I like to refer to it a little like an iceberg, because these pins are showing where we actually sent the check, but really the people that were impacted by that live all over the city. Club members have been models at fundraising fashion shows. Themed bridge tournaments and fancy high teas held in our beautiful clubhouse are always popular. Continually willing to try new events, we have hosted the Life Cycle bike ride, wine and scotch tastings, auctions, and even line dancing events. During the recent pandemic, the creative Aberdeen artisans sewed hundreds of masks and held outdoor events and tailgate sales, promoting their wide range of products online. There is no keeping a determined woman down. One of those determined women is Joyce Clarkson, who was instrumental in having the club open the May Court Bargain Box in 1971. Based in Sandy Hill near Ottawa University and with lots of foot traffic, the shop serves a dual purpose. Sales are key, but many customers go into the shop to have a few minutes of social interaction.
We have a great group. We have a basement where we keep donations that come in, and they get sorted and everything else. And invariably we have very odd things. You think, now who on earth would buy this? And then we hang it up, and my gosh, sometimes it's the very first thing to go, and it looked terrific on somebody. So that's where you learn. You just don't tell the honest truth, because if somebody thinks they look great in it, you can sort of tell. At the Bargain Box, we have items for men, and they're often delighted to find that so that they can get dressed to go for job interviews and maybe a date. Well, our window is very important because we're the only store on Laurier Avenue there. We have a very talented group of two gals that do and are dedicated to the window. We're very happy with our window dressers. The Bargain Box raises over $100,000 each year, and that means a great deal to the community because that's where it all goes into.
In addition to selling gently used clothing and household goods at very reasonable prices for the past 52 years, the volunteers also support the Sandy Hill Community Health Centre, the Ottawa AIDS Committee, the Dalhousie Food Bank, and the Salvation Army. Recent influxes of refugees from Afghanistan, Syria, and the Ukraine have been able to get much-needed warm clothing. The club received significant recognition for its efforts through the media over the years. We now have turned to social media and our website. There are supported by the May Court Club of Ottawa plaques up all over the city. People recognize the work of the ladies in pink smocks at Red Cross blood clinics, at the Civic Hospital, and at dozens of citizenship court ceremonies. Along with many other awards, in 2019, the club was presented with the June Colwood Award for Outstanding Achievement in Volunteerism. The very popular lecture series saw many interesting speakers address our members. That desire to learn now continues at some of the club's soup lunches. The After Fives Committee enables women who are still in the workplace or occupied during the daytime to work on projects together. And you can't work side by side focused on a service committee or fundraiser without building a friendship. Even during the recent pandemic, our members gathered virtually and supported each other without leaving home. We celebrate 125 years of friendships.
One of the best things about a group of women like the May Court Club of Ottawa is the friendships we make. And you can't work hand in hand with a group of people and not become friends with them. One time I was helping clean up after an event and I was washing dishes in the kitchen. And I got talking with a couple of other gals how we'd never been to Radio City Music Hall. And the next thing you knew, 8 of us were heading off to New York to see Radio City Music Hall. And we had so much fun together. It's a real strength of belonging to the May Court Club of Ottawa.
Holly Hesser-Quirk joined the May Court in 1999.
So I joined the May Court Club over 23 years ago. I was new to the Ottawa area and I was looking for a place to connect. What I appreciate about the May Court Club is its rich history in Ottawa. I also enjoy the friendship with the ladies. To me, they're like extended family. They've watched me raise my children and they've given me an encouraging environment to grow and serve the Ottawa community.
The May Court Club was founded during a time of social upheaval. Poverty and health concerns here in the nation's capital encouraged Lady Aberdeen to act. We have weathered world wars, pandemics, the Great Depression, changes in the social safety net, health crises, and other challenges. We have evolved as the needs of the community have changed. We learned new technologies and embraced social media. We took the message of enriching the lives of others as well as our own to heart. The actions of a small group of women have made a tremendous difference in our community.
Congratulations to May Court, to all the members.
And here we are, a group of vibrant women.
Let's continue to serve the Ottawa community.
Enjoy your anniversary year with pride.
It's amazing that we have been around this long, and I hope we can keep going for another 125 years.
Happy birthday, May Courters. 125, you rock.